Hey everybody, this is the Sliders Review, and welcome to a special edition of Asian and Pacific Islander Heritage Month. And I'm here today to talk to you about Asian representation in movies. This is, part two. See, this video is a lot longer than I thought it was. I'm gonna have to break it up into three parts. And this part has to deal with stereotypes and bad Asian representation. So like I said before, Asian people have been in movies since the 1800s, the late 1800s, right? And there was a written rule that white people could not be romantically linked to people of color in movies. This resulted in tons of Chinese characters being portrayed by white actors. They would paint their face, they would squint their eyes. Sometimes they'll put like buck teeth on them. They'll have them wear Asian clothing, and they will have them portray an Asian character in the most silly and goofiest way possible. This was simply done to mock Asian people because America was it the Vietnam War in the 1900s or 1960s is when Asian people started appearing in movies. I can't remember. Something was going on in America and China at that time, and America just wanted to mock them, and mock them they did to the point of buffoonery. And so people who were not used to Asian culture would see this and assume all of them acted that way. It was one of the most disgusting and disgraceful things I've ever seen. I've already said how George Takei, he was in some movie, I forget what it was, but they showed a clip of it as he was talking about it, and he said he was disgusted. He played like an apprentice to this sensei, right? And the guy playing the sensei was a white actor in YELLOWFACE, and he had to keep calling the man master and all this other stuff, and it was just so disrespectful. And it was disrespectful because people are ignorant and people are racist. And so, this carried on for many, many years, and then it stopped. Probably around the 70s when Bruce Lee came on the scene. And Bruce Lee actually lost a lot of roles because they said his accent was too strong and everything, and his martial arts were too good. This is how I believe something happened. I think he wrote a story for a show to get made with him to star in. ABC rejected it, and then they created the show Kung Fu. Kung Fu started David Carradine, and he is white and Native American, and he played a Asian man throughout that entire movies and television shows and everything. And it was baffling because a lot of people assumed that he was Asian and stuff. Then, many decades later, they came out with Kung Fu: The Legend Continues. Now, I never saw the original Kung Fu, but I did watch Kung Fu: The Legend Continues, and I really enjoyed that as a kid in the 90s. And I had no idea that David wasn't even Asian. In fact, I think it was my sister told me that, yeah, he's white and everything. I was shocked and baffled by that because I could not believe it, because I assumed, okay, this is what television is telling me, then it must be true. And it was not. But then that explains the guy who played his son. And I kept looking at him, I'm like, okay, I know he's white, so how is he Asian and stuff? And so I was always confused. Now, if you think YELLOWFACE stopped, then you're wrong. I was very shocked and surprised a couple of days ago when I tried to watch one of the Sherlock Holmes movies with Robbie Downey Jr., the dude who played Iron Man and stuff. And in the second movie, in the very beginning of the movie, he's dressed as a Chinese beggar on the street. And I looked at that and I'm just like, dude, what are you doing? After Tropical Thunder, you'd think he would have stopped doing painting his face a different color. And so he's Sherlock Holmes in the movie, and he was in disguise. trying to like snuff out these bad guys. Okay, I get that. But why couldn't they write it differently? Why couldn't they write it the way he's in disguise as a regular white guy? Why did he have to be Asian? And they wrote that in the very beginning for you to see for shock value. And I'm very shocked and surprised he did that until I read something. When he did Tropical Thunder, he played. So this is what the weird thing is. The promotional and everything you saw of him is a man in blackface. So he played, so I assume he played a black character, but that was not the deal. See, he played an Australian white man who was a method actor, and he was asked to, in the role that his character plays, was supposed to play blackface, and so that's what he is. And I don't know how long he is in the movie doing that, because I will not watch that movie. And so I get the gist of it. Like, he's not actually playing a black man. He's playing a white character who's supposed to portray a black man. But why was that written like that? And why would he accept a role like that? And it was written to mock people, you know what I'm saying? To get a laugh, a chuckle out of it. And he literally said he has no regrets playing that blackface character. So if he has no regrets playing a black man, then he has no regrets playing an Asian man. And that's his privilege talking right there out his butt. And you know, it is so disrespectful, because it's like he's one of the highest paid male actors in Hollywood. He did not have to take those roles doing that, and he should have objected to not wanting to do it. But he isn't the only Marvel star to do something like that. Scarlett Johansson was in a movie. I can't remember the movie's name, but it's based off an anime. And of course, anime are Japanese characters. And she played the Japanese character, but she played it as a white looking woman with like an Asian type hairstyle and all this other stuff. And it's set in an Asian country, and you look at it and it just looks weird. It was whitewashing, and it's like, why in the world would you take that role? Well, now we know why. Years later, she was supposed to play a transgender man, but the transgender community found out and got pissed, and she quit the project. But she put out a statement saying, as an actress, she should be allowed to play whoever she feels like playing. And it's like, no, you don't get it. That is your white privilege talking right there, and you need to take a step back. But this isn't the first time an Asian character has been whitewashed in the movie. Take Speed Racer and take Dragon Ball Z of all movies. Now, I've never seen neither one of these movies. In fact, I've never even watched Dragon Ball Z, the cartoon. I think I watched Speed Racer growing up, but I don't remember because it's been forever. But you pretty much can assume that, yeah, they're both Asian characters. And oh, look, the movie stars white people. And it's like, why? Why do that? I get it, it's an American adaptation, but you don't have to go for a white lead. Cast an Asian person. There are tons of them in America and stuff. And they're taking roles away from Asian people, which is ironic because you always hear white people nowadays talking about everything's woke. They're trying to replace us in Hollywood. And it's like, well, y'all replace people first. You know what I'm saying? Like, people just want to be heard and people want to be represented by their actual real race. They don't want to see a white person taking on the role of an Asian character. One of the most outrageous things I've ever seen and pissed me off was The Last Airbender. That movie pissed me off so bad because I love the cartoon series to death. And when I heard they were making a live action movie, I was ecstatic until I saw the cast. The entire cast is white. I am not joking. And it's white, and the other cast is like Indian and stuff. And at least I think they are. I forget exactly which kind. But anyways, So if you don't know Avatar: The Last Airbender, pretty much the four kingdoms, the three kingdoms are good except for the Fire Nation. So in the movie, they had the other three nations all played by white people. Those are supposed to be the good characters, but remember the Fire Nation is the evil people. And guess who played the Fire Nation? The Indian cast members. And people are just kind of like, what in the world is this? Because in Avatar, there are like, it's supposed to be based off of Chinese people, Japanese people, Buddhist monks, and indigenous people, or Insu as they call them. And this was not found in the movie whatsoever. And on top of that, they changed the pronunciation of all the names because they said they wanted the Asian pronunciation of like the names. So it was different from that of the cartoon, which confused people. So it's kind of like, oh, so that's how you're making up for Asian culture. You're gonna get the right pronunciation of the names. And what made no sense is that the director who created the movie is an Indian man himself. Now, I don't know if you should put the whole blame on him or the studio. It might have been the studio making him do that. But then again, we don't know because they don't talk about that no more. Then you have Death Note. I didn't know what a Death Note was until the Netflix movie came out. And they completely whitewashed the entire movie. Like, I think that's his name, Light. Yeah, it's been a while since I watched it. He is supposed to be, actually everybody in the anime is supposed to be Japanese, and in the movie, Light is white. And like this other character who's supposed to be Japanese, they made him black. And the movie was not very good at all. I did not like it at all. And pretty much nobody else did. And now they're going to make a sequel after all these years, after all the backlash. And so after that, I watched the anime. And the anime is amazing. But why in the world? Like every time they want to make an American adaptation, they always put like a white person as the lead. I don't get that. Then there is the Ancient One. The Ancient One is supposed to be a Buddhist monk. And for whatever reason, they changed it because I think they were trying to appeal to one country. And no, a Tibetan monk, I believe it was. And so that's why they didn't have like a real Asian person playing a Tibetan monk. So what did they do? They changed it to a white Celt monk. And so they brought in a white actress. And people is just kind of like, no. No. Like, no. And then there is the whitewashing of the Dragon Ball Z movie. Now, the Dragon Ball Z movie actually stars that of an Asian cast. However, the main protagonist of the movie is white. And I don't understand the logic behind this. They were trying to appeal to a white audience by having the white savior come in and save the day, but it pissed a lot of people off. And I feel bad for the rest of the cast because they was hoping this would be huge. Dragon Ball Z is a huge anime that's international, and a lot of these people were just getting their start in the movie business. And this movie just like bombed big time because of Hollywood's stupidity and everything. The stupidity of trying to make their own people happy by casting one of their own as like the lead. Now take the 2009 movie called Push. It stars that of Chris Evans and Dakota Fanning. And it was a critical bomb. It had moderate success at the box office, but you know, a lot of critics did not like it. I like the movie. It's interesting. It's different. I like the CGI with the power set. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because the movie is set in China. And the main stars of the movies are all white, except for one black guy and one Maori guy. There are a few Asian like celebrities that are in the movie. I think one is Mina, I forget her last name. She's in there, but their roles are very limited and very small. You would assume that a movie that is set in China would, feature more like Asian stars and not just have them be background characters or have them like, just pop in and pop out the movie. And of course, the Asian people that do get to say something, well, a lot of them are villains and stuff. And that's just very odd to do. So it's like you have this movie set in another country with the background characters all being one race, but they don't do nothing. And the only people that do get to do something are the non-Asian characters and stuff. Then you have Emma Stone, who is white and played a Chinese Hawaiian girl in Aloha. She has since apologized for it, but instead of apologizing, she should have never accepted the role to begin with. And I don't understand why. She's a huge actress and she should have known better. Then there's Iron Man 3. When the Mandarin showed up, I was baffled because they made the Mandarin white, not once, but twice in that movie. See, the Mandarin has always been a controversial character in comic books. They drew him with buck teeth and he was made to look like a stereotype. They later changed his appearance and all this other stuff. But in the movie, he's supposed to be an Asian person. Just the name alone is offensive. The Mandarin, you know what I'm saying? And so, like, but he is an Asian character. In the movie, they have a decoy played by a white man. Then the real Mandarin shows up and it's once again another white man. And even his chest, when his power is coming out, is in the shape of a dragon. What the world, man? And their excuse was, oh, it would have been offensive if like we would have had like an Asian person named the Mandarin. So making him white would have been better? Like what kind of logic is that? And so thankfully in Shang-Chi, they corrected this by bringing in the real Mandarin and stuff. And then there was Michael Bay's Ninja Turtle movies. Originally, the script got leaked, some imagery got leaked, and characters got leaked. And the Shredder, as everybody knows, is a Japanese man who is like the bad guy of like the Turtles and stuff. And he's always been voiced by like white people or black people in like cartoons, which is messed up. But like in the movies, the original movies, he was played by like an Asian man. But for this one, they was gonna have him portrayed by a white man. And this is how it was originally supposed to be. The Shredder was supposed to be white in Michael Bay's Ninja Turtle movies. But once that got leaked, Michael Bay got scared and changed him later on to an Asian man. And I'm just like, dude, what would possess you to want to make him white to begin with? That don't make no kind of sense. Like, make it make sense. And so it's bad enough that they have these stereotypes in comic books of Asian characters. But then when it comes to the movies, oh no, all of a sudden it's offensive. So they try to whitewash them. That is literally, and then the thing is, like, even though those characters are controversial in like the comics, they are beloved by so many people because they are strong antagonists and stuff. And like, and it's sad they can't even be represented the way they're supposed to be on screen, all because they trying to appeal to that of a white audience. It's like they are literally trying to erase anything that has to do with Asian culture in terms of like the actor, but they have the influence all throughout the movie. Then you have the white savior complex. There was a movie, I believe it was called Forbidden Kingdom, I believe. And this was a very highly anticipated movie. Why? Because the first time and only time Jackie Chan and Jet Li were gonna appear in a movie together, and it's their only one. Nobody has ever seen them in a movie before. Nobody has even seen them in the same room together. So people always speculated, do they even like each other, right? So the movie is predominantly Asian and everything. It starts in the modern day, and every character is Asian except for one white guy. And the white guy is our main protagonist. He is the hero of the movie. A white guy is the hero of an entire Asian movie. So Jackie Chan, older character, gets shot because there's like a gang of like, this Asian kid who's a gangster, of course. And so the dude tries to like, take this staff. The white dude takes the staff and he gets transported back in time to when the staff was like missing. And then it goes back to like ancient times. And so he has to return the staff. I believe it's to the Monkey King, I believe. And so like he returns the staff, but he also has to learn martial arts from Jackie and Jet. And it's weird because he is the hero of the movie. Why couldn't the gangster dude be the hero? Like, you know what I'm saying? He actually knew martial arts. And this is such a thing that happens in Hollywood that needs to stop. Why is the white dude the hero of an Asian movie with such legendary stars in that? That don't make no sense. And they do that to appeal to a white Western audience. They're all like, oh, well, we need to put them in there so, they can watch the movie. People are going to watch that movie regardless because of who the stars are, And it never got a sequel. I don't even know how well or bad it did at the box office. I own it on DVD because it's Jackie Chan and Jet Li, and they're awesome. But it's like, that casting should never have happened. Then there's the movie Unleashed with Jet Li. I own it on DVD. I never watched it in the movie theaters. See, my thing is this. Back in the day, I never went to movies. I just buy them on DVD. And every once in a while, it turns out to be a good one. Sometimes it's a bad one, like Bulletproof Monk. But like Bulletproof Monk is another one of those movies that, I'll get into a little bit later. And so like Unleashed, I had no idea what the premise of the movie was about. I just knew Jet Li was in it and I wanted that movie because I'm a huge Jet Li fan. And so like the action in the movie is great. Everything else in the movie is just boring. It's just a lot of boring dialogue. And it revolves around Jet Li's character. Morgan Freeman plays a blind man. Morgan Freeman. The man said in order to get rid of racism, you have to stop talking about it. No, that gives actual racists an excuse to not feel guilty. And it follows his adopted daughter who's like, getting her braces off and all this other stuff. Why is this movie problematic, and why haven't I talked about it for like, Asian like, Heritage Month? Well, Jackie Chan plays a dog. No, he doesn't voice a dog. He's not dressed as a dog. It's not an animated movie. He's a grown man who acts like a dog. And he has a leash around his neck. Why? Well, it turns out in the movie, the villain, who's white, kidnapped Jet Li's character as a young kid, murdered his mom, and assaulted her, like sexually assaulted her. And he forgot all this because it's a repressed memory. And so, since being like a little 9-year-old boy into that of a grown 40, 50 something year old man, he was taught to act like a dog, to like sit, to beg, to eat like a dog, and he was not allowed to speak. And what this man would do would have Jet Li's character be his bodyguard. Somehow he trained him in martial arts. Well, at some point in time, he starts to act a little human all of a sudden. And then he meets Morgan Freeman's character who humanizes him. And he gets put in these martial arts tournaments and everything. And then he starts to remember what happened to his mom. And it's just kind of like, why, Jet? Why would you take a role like this? Why would you play a dog? A dog. A dog. I don't get that. Like, I don't. I really, really don't. Like, I get the premise. It's a unique premise and something that's never been done before. But why, Jet? Why? Another thing about bad Asian representation in most media is that they're always portrayed as like a villain. I don't understand why that is. Normally, if you see like a movie and stuff, and it's an all-white cast, there's an Asian person who's famous, and they are the villain. Jet Li made his American debut in one of the Lethal Weapon movies. I think it was the fourth one, and he played the villain of all things. And it's like they tend to do that in Hollywood, where they'll cast like the main cast that's normally white as like the hero, and the person of color is normally a villain. And that is so annoying and everything. And the thing is, an Asian person can play a villain, sure, you know what I'm saying? But you don't want like your first couple of like big blockbuster movies to have like, you know, a famous Asian person and have them play a villain. Same thing happened in like, you know, the first Fast and the Furious movie. The Fast and the Furious is like have multiple races. And in the first movie, the only time you see an Asian person, they are in a gang. They're murdering people in the movie, they're torturing people, they're beating people up. And this is what people experience was seeing an Asian person in the movie, and it is disgusting. Since then, there really hasn't been that many Asian people in the Fast and Furious movies. In the second one, they had a really good two good protagonists, but they haven't been seen since the second movie. In the third movie, they went over to Tokyo. I've never seen that, so I don't know. And then after that, the actor who plays Han reappeared, but then only to die and somehow get resurrected and stuff like that. But ever since then, Han has been like the only main Asian person in the Fast and Furious, and he's played a good character. And like when it comes to say like Asian people playing like, you know, bad like, you know, villain type roles, this is very troubling, especially in nowadays. You know, with the pandemic happening, there was a lot of Asian hate going around the world, especially America, where non-Asian people, it didn't matter if they were white, black, Hispanic, they were attacking Asian women and elderly Asian people at random. It was one of the most disgusting things I had ever seen, and you haven't seen this type of Asian hate since like the 60s or the 70s and stuff. And it was really shocking because I didn't grow up at all in the 60s or the 70s. And so I've never seen this. And it was one of the most baffling things I had ever seen. And one of the things that was like, you know, that came from it is that seeing a lot of like Asian actors and actresses stand united and always talk about stopping Asian hate. And, you know, other people that were not Asian, like myself, you know, they took to like, you know, social media to help spread the word of stopping Asian hate. Because you had a former president calling the coronavirus the Chinese virus, and then you had Meghan McCain from The View also calling it the Wuhan virus and all this other stuff, and proudly, you know, talking about where it came from there, and you know, and and that's what you should call it. And she never got in trouble for it. In fact, she didn't get in trouble until like months or years later for that. And The View just constantly let her spread her hate. And this is a woman who like will wear Asian buns on her head, but then would go as far as to call it like, the Chinese or Wuhan virus and stuff, or whatever she called it. She's a very, very, very hateful, prejudiced woman. And I remember there's this one person who was on Power Rangers, and like, she has now realized. Actually, I'll get into her. Yeah, I'll get into her now. So, Asian people in like movies using the N-word, right? This is something I've seen pop up a couple of times and with really famous people. So, like, the first time I ever saw that happen was either Mean Girls or the first Rush Hour movie. Now, in Mean Girls, there were these two Asian teenagers at high school, and they did not speak English. And so, like, such bad representation that they had was that both the two foreign exchange Asian students was sleeping with the coach. And it's like, dude, like that's how you want to portray the only Asian people in like the movie, having them sleep with the older man who's like their teacher. Then Tina Fey, who helped write this movie, she likes to insert racial stuff in the movies, mocking Asians, mocking black people. I don't know why she does it, but she does it. She's one of those type of comedians that feel like she can do and say whatever she wants and think everything has to be funny. And in the movie, one of the Asian people, since they don't speak English that well, she used the N-word, thinking, okay, well, I hear black people use it, I can use it too. Now, I will admit, in the context, it was funny because, she didn't understand English. It was a language barrier. And so it made it for a very hilarious moment, even though it was wrong for her to say that. But now, as I look at it, I'm just like, why? Why did they have to write that in the movie and make her look so ignorant and stuff? Then, in Rush Hour, Jackie Chan used the N-word because Chris Tucker's character said it when he saw a black man. Black people do this all the time. I hate it. I am not for the N-word. I hate the N-word. I hate the N-word. And so, like, Jackie Chan was trying to blend in, like, Chris Tucker told him to and stuff. And he used that word. And it was made to be like a hilarious moment because, there was a language barrier once again. There's always has to be that language barrier between like these Asian characters in movies. And so that caused a huge fight in like the movie with the characters and stuff. And I remember in one of the behind the scene bloopers and deleted scenes, Jackie said, Brett Ratner, who's the director of the movie, he's a very problematic director and a disgraced director and a canceled director because of what he did during the Me Too movement. And so, like, Jackie said, the director always making me say like these bad words and stuff like that in the movie. And it's like, because he has no idea, like in real life, what some of these words mean for like the movie and stuff. And like, it was like so disrespectful. And I remember Chris Tucker, there was a deleted scene, like, okay, when towards the end of the movie, when the Asian hit woman has like the bomb, Chris Tucker, like after like Chris Tucker's, they kept having him say different lines, and Brett Ratner wanted him to call her the B word, and Chris is like, "No, man, I ain't gonna do that. Like, I'm not about to call this woman like the B word and everything," because it would have been so disrespectful to call a woman that, and not only that, but it would have been even more disrespectful for a black man to call an Asian woman that. And so I'm glad Chris Tucker had the wherewithal to reject saying that, and I wish more stars would reject saying other things as well. Then I forget the title of this movie. It's Nine Dead. It's a movie created by Melissa Joan Hart. She also stars in it. And in the movie, it's kind of like Saw. So you have a bunch of people in the room, they're trying to figure out how they're all connected, and there's a person killing them one by one. And in the movie, there's this elderly Asian woman who's played by the grandmother from Fresh Off the Boat. And in that, she calls the black guy, the only black guy in the movie, the N-word. And I'm just like, you got to be kidding. And she called him that because she was mad at him. And I'm all like, you gotta be kidding me. Why on earth would you do this? Like, why would you show that type of ignorance in a movie, and especially that of like a person of color? Then in Rush Hour 3, one of the bad guys got captured by Jackie's character and Chris' character. And the Asian like gangster dude called Chris Tucker's character the N-word over and over again. I'm just kind of like, what is with Brett Ratner always wanting people to use that word in the Rush Hour movies? And that's the thing I hate about the Rush Hour movies, is when they use that word. Then the gangster called Jackie Chan character the C word and everything. And I'm just like, why? Why show racism? It's already bad enough that this Asian dude's playing a gangster, but he has to be racist too. And so now this brings me to that one Power Ranger girl. During the time of like, the pandemic and people hating on Asians and stuff, at some point in time on her Instagram, she revealed that she used a racial slur. She won't say what the racial slur is. And one of her fans found that, and she is so disgraced by it, like she's ashamed by it and stuff, and she apologized like deeply about it. And I was shocked to find this out, because she doesn't play a Power Ranger. She plays like a supporting cast member in Beast Morphers, and it's kind of like she's this extremely funny actress, right? Her character is funny. She's very talented and she is gorgeous and everything. What would possess her for whatever reason to use a racial slur? She said she did it to be funny. And so, of course, all her white fans forgave her because they don't care. And so, like, it's just kind of like, I don't know what will possess a person to do that. And the thing is, most likely she either confessed either because she just felt guilty, or it's because her fan found out and she was afraid of being exposed. So she exposed herself. And she realizes, just how terrible that is in today's world, because she's one of those people who post like, stop like Asian hate and everything. And it's kind of like, people will be racist themselves, but then when another community is being racist to them, then it clicks in their head and they're all like, oh wait, I should have never been racist to begin with, because when they come for one, they come for all. Now, one thing I have noticed, whenever an Asian person does pop up in a movie, say like a comedy, 90s movie, or like say, 2000s, they're always there as the comedic character, or a character who's always wanting people's money, and they won't do nothing for a person unless, they get your money. And it just makes them look greedy and everything. Everybody loves money, you know what I'm saying? But why are they always portrayed like that in comedy movies? And why are they're always portrayed as goofy people in comedy movie? When they're portrayed as goofy people, they're portrayed as like the butt of like a joke. This is movies like Sugar and Spice, Dude, Where's My Car, the Rush Hour movies, and I just don't get that. Why are they always there to be made fun of? And it's because people act like they're easy punching bags and stuff, and it's like, because they're barely in movies and barely in TV, people are like, oh, we can just make fun of them. And it reminds me of something about Jackie Chan. He was on some guy's late night talk show. And the man, when he said Jackie's name, he threw his hands up in the air and did like a martial arts pose. And Jackie looked at him and just looked at him. He's all like, why do you do that for? Like, why does every person in America do that to me when they say my name. He's all like, every time people say Jackie Chan, they always do some type of martial arts pose. And he's all like, he doesn't understand that. And it's really insulting and everything because they just assume, oh, because you're Jackie Chan, you're martial arts, I gotta do like, a martial arts pose. It's very, very, very offensive and stuff. And I don't get, and it reminds me of like what happened in Desperate Housewives. So Asian representation is truly that of a must because it's very rarely seen on television. And normally when it is shown on television, it's very, very brief. Happy Asian and Pacific Islander month, everybody. Alrighty, well, I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.